Here's my full book review of Wool by Hugh Howey, the first book of the Silo book series.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, Freccero fam? Welcome back to my channel where I'd like to explore everything that life has to offer. I gotta be honest, I've been doing a lot more reading, which has been kind of nice, and recently I finished watching the first season of Silo on Apple TV. Blown away. Such an incredible show, and at least at the exact time of this video, season 2 has not come out yet, so definitely waiting for that. So before that, I decided to pick up the Silo book series. As you can see here, this is all 3 books, Wool, Shift, and Dust. And as a side note, I suggest getting this box set. I have a link listed below in the description if you want to check it out. Because originally, I went to buy each book individually. It was actually more expensive buying each one individually than just buying this box set. And it's kind of cool, right? You can see. But anyway, now let's talk about the first book, Wool. Being honest right away, this is one of the best fiction books I've ever read. You can see it's a decent length, being honest. It's roughly about, if I had to go to the end, about 570 pages. So definitely a decent read, but this is one of those few books when I was reading it, I literally did not want to put it down to the point where I think I read it, and I think like 4 or 5 different sittings. I actually canceled some plans I had to be like, you know what? I could go out tonight or do something. I'm just gonna stay in and finish this book because of how good it was. I will say I'm not going to give away anything in this video or talk about any spoilers. So I do want to say that right in case you haven't read it. But here's the main premise. A bunch of people are trapped in a silo underground. They don't know why they're there. They don't know what's going on or why, for whatever reason, they can't go outside. And that's pretty much the main idea. I mean, as you can imagine, there's a lot that happens. That's just the main premise. But it's a very kind of sci-fi, dystopian style read. And I gotta say, the writing, the storyline, it's really cool with this book, how it kind of just jumps right into it, which I really like. Like, there really wasn't a lot of setup, which I did appreciate. They just immediately jump into a huge storyline involving the first sheriff. It's just one of those books that, like I said, is so hard to put down because it's one thing after another. And at the end of every chapter, and I think this is a sign of a brilliantly written book, at the end of every chapter, it gives you like a mini cliffhanger into the next chapter. And you're like, all right, well, I was gonna finish this chapter and then go to bed, but now this just happened. I have to keep going. And that's why I read it in, like I said, 4 or 5 different sittings. An unbelievable book. Now, one unique thing I do want to talk about is the book versus the Silo TV series. I have to be honest, the book and the TV show, very different. When it comes to the main overall plot and concept, of course, they're about the same. But in terms of all these unique specifics, there's a massive difference between the TV show and the book. And I do want to say this. I know a lot of times people say this. The book, in my opinion, significantly better than the TV show. I just have to be honest, that's my own personal opinion. I will say, though, that's not always true. I may get some hate for this. There's only 2 books I've ever read that I thought the movie adaptation was better than the book. One, Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I thought the script was way more in depth, significantly better than the book, honestly. And the second one, which I know is debatable, is The Maze Runner. I thought The Maze Runner movie was better than the book. I think there's a lot of things in the movie that I liked the way it was scripted, and I liked a lot better in terms of the progress in the timeline, and especially near the end of it, compared to the book. And what's very interesting about that is this actually gave me a lot of Maze Runner vibes. Like, it is kind of similar to that where, you know, the story kind of starts out with all this stuff happening and you're like, wait, what is going on? Where are they? Why are they there? That kind of sci-fi mystery vibe. And bringing this now back to Wool, especially when it comes to both the book and the TV show, I saw the TV show first, then I read the book. And I will say, I'm kind of glad I did that. I think if someone came to me saying, hey, I'm gonna read the book or watch the TV show, I'd say to watch the TV show first and then read the book. And here's the main reason why. There are a lot of unique differences, and it's interesting that the book goes super in depth about very certain things, but then the TV show goes very in depth about things that the book barely mentioned or barely really talked about. So it's kind of cool in my mind, looking at both, to be honest, that it's almost like I got 2 different versions of Wool by reading the book and then watching the TV show. In addition, and I'm gonna be very careful how I word this, it's also very interesting for people who have read the book and seen the TV show, that the TV show ends about halfway through the book. I remember again, after I watched the TV show, being like, oh man, maybe the first season is about the first book, and then the second season maybe about the second book, and blah, blah, blah. But I think it was around page 200 or 300, not even halfway through the book, that part of the TV show ended. And I'm like, wait, I thought this was gonna be the end of the book. I'm not even halfway through yet. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of happy about that, because the end of the first season of the TV show, biggest cliffhanger, right up there with Severance, which is another one of my favorite TV shows. Cannot wait for Severance season 2. And on that note, I found that there was a very unique difference, and this is why I would suggest to watch the TV show first, at least in my opinion, between the TV show and the book. And that is that although, like I said, the plot is pretty much the same, yes, the book does go more in depth about certain things, and the show goes more in depth about other things, which makes them a complete pack. I felt that the show was more of a thriller or mystery vibe. The show definitely had, and maybe it's because of the screen adaptation, it definitely had a very mysterious element to it where it wanted to keep you guessing next. It didn't reveal a lot. There's a lot of unique, subtle differences the TV show had. You could argue if it's better or worse than the book. That kept you being like, wait, so who's this guy? What's his motive? Is he actually a good guy or a bad guy? What is this situation? What is this? The book kind of answered a lot of those things right away. The book, I kind of felt like, didn't read like a mystery. It more read like a sci-fi book or a sci-fi thriller, as opposed to the TV show, it felt like more of a mystery thriller with a sci-fi aspect to it. So I found there were two very different experiences, because when I was watching the TV show, pretty much 90% of the time, you're trying to guess what's going on or what's the situation with this person or this unique thing that just happened. You're guessing the entire time. There's not a lot of revealed stuff, for lack of a better word, in the TV show. When it comes to the book, however, like I said, I didn't really get that mysterious vibe, as more of Hugh Howey just describing exactly what was going on, what was happening, and really just tried to progress through the story. But overall though, I gotta say, this book, like I said, one of the best fiction books I've ever read. I cannot wait to read the second and third book. Might as well pick this back up, right? And I will say too, trust me, because these books are selling out quick, I do suggest getting the pack. Might as well say too, this is not sponsored by Hugh Howey or anything. I'm glad I got the pack, because now I'm moving on to Shift, and I would hate to, like, say, finish the first book and not have the second one right on me. So I'm not exaggerating. After I finish this video and I edit it and upload it, I'm immediately going in to the second book. But like I said, one of the best fiction books I've ever read. And in addition, because the TV show and the book were, of course, similar in terms of the main idea, but very different in terms of these specific plot lines, it almost kind of felt like I had Wool Part 2, the extra chapters or the extra stories. That's how the TV show in comparison really felt to me, which I'm not gonna lie, makes them the perfect pairing. So I have to say as well, if you've not seen the TV show yet, definitely check it out. It's unbelievable.